Okay, so we're ready to start. And this week we're going to be talking about the Beis Hamikdash and comparing it to the Mishkan. And why are we talking about this? Because in this week's Parsha, Parshas Re'eh, we have this pasuk in Parak Yud Beis, pasuk Yud Aleph, Hamakayim Asher Yivchar Hashem Elokeinu Bai, the place which Hashem chooses, which is the Beis Hamikdash. So, based on this pasuk, we're going to be having a class about the Beis Hamikdash. Okay. So the Rambam, which is a book of halacha, starts off in Hilchos Beis Habchira, and he writes, the entire complex of the Beis Hamikdash was not built on flat ground, but rather in levels, according to the ascending slope of Mount Moriah. So the first question that we have is, why does the Rambam not say, he could have just said that the Beis Hamikdash was built, it's built on the mountain, Har Moriah, which we all know. So because a mountain because of the shape of the mountain, it's hard to build something flat. So when you're building, it's like on an incline. As you're going higher up the mountain, the different parts are actually higher than the other. So why couldn't the Rambam just say the entire Beis Hamikdash was built in levels according to the ascending slope of Mount Moriah, which would be positive wording? Why does he use this negative terminology? The entire complex was not built on flat ground. So that's the question. That's the start-off question. So before we answer the question, on the WhatsApp, I posted like a image of what the Beis Hamikdash looked like. And I never even thought of that there's levels or steps. I mean, I knew there were steps, but I didn't picture in my mind something going, built so intricately on a slope of a mountain. But that's how it was. So I have this paper in front of me, and you have it in the WhatsApp. But basically, if the Rambam starts describing, he says, if you're a person that's coming to the Beis Hamikdash, the first thing that you'll do is you're gonna come through the eastern gate, and you're gonna reach this area called the Chel, and you could walk around. Think of like a wedding cake. Like there's one layer and then another layer on top, and each layer is smaller and smaller. So each part of the Beis Hamikdash we're talking about was a whole area that you could walk. So you could walk the area of the Chel when you enter this eastern gate. Then from the Chel, you go up 12 steps, and then you come to a place called Ezras Nashim. So Ezras Nashim, it's up and in. And from Ezras Nashim, go up 15 steps, and then you hit something called the Ezras Yisrael. You can walk all along the Ezras Yisrael, and then you go one step up, and then you reach a place called Ezras Kaihanim, and you can walk that area if you're a Kaihin. And then there's 12 more steps, and then you hit the entrance of the actual Beis Hamikdash, which is called the Ulam, and then the Ulam, which is the entrance, and the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKodashim are all on the same level, and the three of them together, the Ulam, the Kodesh, and the Kodesh HaKodashim, are all called the Heichal. Okay, so Kodesh is the holy, Kodesh HaKodashim is the holy of holies. So basically we're seeing, imagine a mountain, and imagine that the Beis Hamikdash is really, every part of it is higher than the next, and there are steps, And this is how the Beis Hamikdash is built on this incline up the mountain. Okay, so the diagram really helps us understand what it really looked like. But going back to our question, why is there such an emphasis that the Beis Hamikdash was not built on flat ground, but rather that it was built on an incline? And even if you just say it was built on an incline, like why do you have to emphasize the fact that it was specifically not built on flat ground? So the answer is that the whole approach of the Rambam is that the Beis Hamikdash is a continuation of the Mishkan. It's not that there was a Mishkan and then after that there was a Beis Hamikdash, but that it was the Beis Hamikdash is a continuation of the Mishkan, and there's proof. He proves it by listing the things that were in the Mishkan. And because this was in the Mishkan, this is how the Beis Hamikdash had to be built. It had to have the same things. For example, the Mishkan, which is the tabernacle in the desert, had the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies. And therefore, the Beis Hamikdash also had to have a Kodesh HaKodashim, Holy of Holies. The Mishkan had the Kodesh, the Holy, and the Beis Hamikdash also had the Kodesh, the Holy. Outside of the Kodesh, in the Mishkan, was something called a Chatzer. Chatzer means a courtyard. And to correspond to the courtyard, by the Beis Hamikdash, there was something called an Ulam, which is an entrance hall. So you have Kodesh Kodashim, Holy of Holies, Holy Courtyard. That was for the Mishkan. Holy of Holies, Holy, and entrance hall for the Beis Hamikdash. Additionally, the Chatzer, the courtyard in the Mishkan, in the desert, also there was made out of curtains, there was something called Kalei HaChatzer, which are curtains that surround the courtyard, which surround the whole entire thing. So corresponding to the curtains that surround the courtyard, in the Beis Hamikdash, we had something called the Azara, which resembles the courtyard. So if you look in the top picture, over there you could see it clearer. The V is the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies. The U is the Kodesh. The T is the entrance hall, the Ulam. And then the Azara, it's actually called the courtyard of the Kohanim. The courtyard of the Kohanim, we have the courtyard of the Israelites and the courtyard of the women. That's the Azara, which is the letters P, N, and K. So basically, K is actually, there are 4 rooms, but that whole entire area is called the Azara.
The border surrounding the caves, the Azara solution is called the Azara.
So yes, but I guess so, because it's including everything. So, this picture over here, if you look at it, this is the Beis Hamikdash. But if you picture what the Mishkan looked like, it looked the same way. You have the Holy of Holies, the Holy, and the Chatzer. So here we're saying in the Mishkan there was just a courtyard, and then there was out of curtains, like a gate surrounding the entire courtyard. So parallel to that, we have the Azara, which is basically this whole big area, which in the Beis Hamikdash is divided into 3. You have as a Nashim, as a Yisrael, as a Kohanim, but all that is corresponding to the courtyard and the gate around the courtyard. No, sorry, the gate around the courtyard, not the courtyard. The courtyard itself, that's the Ulam, the entrance hall. Okay, one more time to be clear. we're trying to say that the Rambam's opinion is that the Mishkan is a continuation, that the Beis Hamikdash is a continuation of the Mishkan. And therefore, they're similar in structure. How? They both have a Kodesh HaKodashim, they both have a Kodesh, and then they both have like an entrance. For the Mishkan, it's called a Chatzar. In the Beis Hamikdash, it's called an Ulam. And then to surround the entire courtyard, in the Mishkan, you have this curtain that surrounded the entire courtyard and surrounded the entire thing. And in the Beis Hamikdash, you have something called the Azara, which is in place of this, which is basically the whole area all around it, corresponding to the curtain that surrounded the entire area of the Mishkan.
That is the G on the picture.
So what are they saying is G?
There's F and G. There's F is the fail.
The wall surrounding the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah. But we're focusing on the area. We're focusing on the space within G, which is the Azara. So, I'm saying if we're doing name for name, to correspond to the Kalei HaChatzar, to correspond to the curtains that surround the courtyard, we have what we call the Azara. It resembles the curtain that surrounded the courtyard. Okay. Additionally, we know that in the desert, in the Mishkan, there were 3 different camps. You had the camp of, I'll give you here. I didn't realize. Okay. You had the camp of the Kohanim, you had the camp of the Leviim, and then you had the camp of the Yisraelim. So if a person spoke Tsaras, for example, then they had to go out of all 3 encampments. So different tumas, different impurities, you have to go out of different camps. So to correspond to that, in the Beis Hamikdash, we also have 3 categories. You have the actual Beis Hamikdash, you have the Har HaBayis, which is the mountain where the Beis Hamikdash is on, and then you have Yerushalayim. So if for certain impurities, a person would have to go out of Yerushalayim. So basically, we're finding the similarities between the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash because one continues from the other. This is
because according to your picture, as the solution is, people think it's overlooking the Beis Hamikdash. It was like a balcony, and I could peek into the Beis Hamikdash and see the Spizen,
I believe that they're
showing it like lower.
But is it according to everybody it was level? It doesn't one level?
I don't think that the solution is like in a shoe. I don't think that
that's
the
what
solution
I'm
is
hoping for.
No, it's not the only place.
Right, it has 4 rooms, right?
Yeah, it says that it has
Right.
4 chambers. There were 4 chambers in the women's courtyard.
The chamber they use for store.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay, we have a lot to learn about the Beis Hamikdash. But even this tiny little point that it wasn't built on one level, of course, we knew the steps, but the fact that every part was higher than the next part. Of course, if there's steps, then it's higher. But I don't know why I never even put the 2 together.
It was not separate the whole thing. No, it was
Right.
part of it.
Well, I know there was 50 steps.
Why, that's what-
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, that's the only part of that.
right. And versus the Mishkan, which the whole thing is on one level, on the ground. So we're basically gonna understand from a Hasidic perspective what is the meaning behind this and why does Rambam emphasize it so much. The first thing he has to say is just know it was not built flat. And what is the significance of that? Okay. And we have to understand that the Rambam is a book of halacha. So it's not just giving us information. Oh, you should know this is how it was built. But rather it's a halacha, and it's a 2-part halacha. Number 1, the Beis Hamikdash may not be built on one level. And number two, if it's not built in levels according to the ascending slope of Har Moriah, the commandment is not fulfilled. We have a mitzvah. V'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'seichem. Make for me a sanctuary, and I'll dwell in you. So this is this is a mitzvah, and it has to be built in a certain way. And if it's not built in this way of ascending, of different parts on different higher, like this hierarchy, like different levels, and one higher than the other, then you did not fulfill the mitzvah of building a Beis Hamikdash. It's integral. It's integral to the mitzvah. There are sometimes is a detail. Okay, lechatchila b'diavad, if it's already done, okay, fine. But here you built a beautiful palace, but you didn't build the Beis Hamikdash if you didn't build it this way. Okay. So we have to ask ourselves, why is the Beis Hamikdash built differently than the Mishkan? If the Rambam is so strong in his opinion that the Beis Hamikdash is a continuation of the Mishkan, then why Taka did it have to be built differently? So you could say, oh, there are many differences. There's differences in structure, there's differences in measurements. So number one, we need to find answers for all the differences. We need to find answers why it was different. Number two, some differences make sense. The Beis Hamikdash was much larger, it accommodated a lot more people, and it was made, and very interesting, we learned this a few weeks ago, that the Beis Hamikdash had to be built out of stone or brick, not out of wood, right? Because we had that whole sicha, versus the Mishkan, which was primarily made out of wood. The krushim, the beams, the pillars were made out of wood. But it makes sense that it was built out of different material. Why? Yeah, exactly. So imagine trying to move boulders. So the Mishkan was temporary, and the Beis Hamikdash was permanent. So obviously, if you're building a permanent structure, it makes sense to build it out of stone versus wood. So some differences, we need explanation why it is different. Some things make sense. But ultimately, we're left back to our question. The question is, why make such a big deal? Why such an emphasis on the fact that the Beis Hamikdash is not built on flat ground? That's the bottom line. That's the question, bottom line.
Why in a negative connotation?
Yeah. So which is how we see that it's being emphasized. Because it's double language. It's not built on flat ground, but it is built in an incline, and it goes and tells us all the details of all the parts and how many steps are in between and how it was built. But so we have both the negative and the positive. So if I have both, then you're emphasizing the fact that it's not built on flat ground, and the question is why. Okay. So the fact that one part of the Beis Hamikdash is built higher than the other represented something. The higher it was, the holier it was. And this is something new, which pertained only to the Beis Hamikdash and not to the Mishkan. There was a certain level of holiness, of sanctity, which was only introduced when the Beis Hamikdash came around. And this holiness is so potent and so great that it actually affects the ground. And the holier the place, the holier the ground, and therefore it's seen in the fact that the ground was actually higher. So basically, the fact that the Beis Hamikdash is built in an incline and there are parts that are higher than the other, it wasn't just that. How do I? Okay. It wasn't just that a technical thing. Well, you're building on a mountain, so obviously that's how it's to be built. But rather, it's because there's a new kind of holiness that's being introduced to the world now, and this kind of holiness, it actually penetrates and permeates the ground. And the holier it is, the more it penetrates, and the holy and the higher it actually is. For example, Shabbos. Shabbos is just holier, and basically, I was saying last week how I was so inspired to give mezuzahs to Hebrew school alumni, and I really want. So the boys, Baruch Hashem, came this past Shabbos, but the girls, Carly and Haley, I really wanted to invite them to come Friday night dinner. And the mom said, "Oh, they can't come Friday night dinner; they're working, but maybe they could come the last day before they leave for college. Maybe they could just come by and say hi." And I was a tiny drop disappointed because I want them to come for a Friday night dinner, because the holiness of Friday night dinner cannot be compared to a barbecue on a Tuesday night. It's just it's a completely different atmosphere. The end is that they weren't able to come to say hi either. I did on Friday mail mezuzahs and I mailed mezuzahs and Shabbos candles and tea lights and the brochure and everything, and it's supposed to arrive today, South Carolina. So, yeah, Baruch Hashem. But so there's something about Shabbos when you want to, when you want to bring Yidden closer to Yiddishkeit, it's such a beautiful opportunity Friday night to invite them, because it's just like a holiness that can't be created no matter what you do. So
It's like we just think better on Friday night. Doesn't
yeah,
same during the week. I don't know how it works, but
yeah, there's something just holy and special.
yeah.
Yeah, and Shalent and absolutely. Okay, so if I compare the Mishkan to the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan is temporary, the Beis Hamikdash is permanent. That's number one. Number two, in the Mishkan, the holiness rested on the building and on its elements, meaning the kalim and the actual building. So that means the curtains, the pillars, the sockets, the vessels, they were all holy. But the ground itself, when the Mishkan was in that spot, the ground itself was affected by the holiness of the building on top of it. And therefore, if you have an Isha Saita, a woman who was not loyal, or she has to drink the water to prove that she is loyal. So they had to take earth, and they actually took the earth from the floor of the Mishkan. But the second the Mishkan moved to a different location, no holiness, the place where the Mishkan was did not remain holy. For example, Har Sinai. When Hashem comes down in the mountain, and even a little bit before, Hashem says, no one's allowed to touch the mountain. If you touch the mountain, you're going to die because it's so holy. Then after the shofar is blown and Hashem goes up, then you could go on the mountain. The mountain did not stay holy. So the Mishkan, the ground itself, the ground beneath it did not, there was no, did not retain any holiness. Versus the Beis Hamikdash, that the holiness also permeated the ground. And therefore, even after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, the land is holy. Right?
they're allowed to run into the father, you know.
We're not allowed to, we're not allowed to.
Well, allowed because they don't have the fish that are infected, they don't, you know, it's meaningless for them.
But it's funny that from all the places in the world, this is what that everyone's fighting for the same piece of land. It couldn't find himself, not a few miles away, But there's a holiness that's a forever holiness in the place of the Beis Hamikdash. And I don't know the answer to this question, but in the Rambam it says that there are certain karbanes that could only be eaten within the Beis Hamikdash. There are the holier, the karban. There were different parts of the Beis Hamikdash where it could or could not be eaten. So even if there is no Beis Hamikdash, the karbanes. I don't understand the concept of could you have a carbon after the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed? Like I don't see how that would be possible. But hypothetically speaking, if you did have a carbon, you would be permitted to eat it in those places, even though the structure isn't there, because the land is still holy. So the holiness stays. And the Beis Hamikdash, it's called the place that Hashem chose. Hamakoim. This is a specific place, a specific piece of land that Hashem chose to be the Beis Hamikdash, which is not the case by the Mishkan, which was traveling. It was 40 years in the desert, and then for 14 years it was outside of the Jordan, I believe, and then for 369 years it was in. I wrote this down somewhere. Shiloh, and then for another 50 some years it was traveling, and then finally it came to Yerushalayim, and then Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash. So that was even though for 369 years it wasn't a specific spot and it wasn't moving around, still the place that Hashem chose is specifically the Beis Hamikdash and not anything else. Okay. So now we have another question. We see the greatness of the Beis Hamikdash, that Hashem's that the ground that it accomplished that even that the holiness should even permeate and penetrate the ground. And b'chlal, it's a lesson for us. It's a lesson for us that when we learn or when we're growing in our Yiddishkeit, whatever it is that what we learn shouldn't just, go in one ear and out the other, but rather that it should permeate us and it should become part of us. So this past Friday, we said, okay, we invited our guests to come at 7, Shabbos is 7:35. And this will have an opportunity for Eric and Matthew, for the alumni from our Hebrew school, to have an opportunity and their father to put on tefillin. And I gifted them with mezuzahs, and I wrote a poem, which I printed on very pretty paper, and I even laminated it so that it shouldn't land in the garbage can too quickly. And so we gave it to them. Yeah. So I think that we have to explain. I think we have to explain what we're giving them. Explain what this can do. A mezuzah? Oh. So does it have Hashem, or does it say? So a lot of times in the brochures, it doesn't say Hashem, doesn't spell Hashem's name, so that it shouldn't be shameless. And when was the last time it was checked?
I don't even know.
Yeah, that's another question.
It
It doesn't matter, just even for himself. No. So when we give it, we give it, and we explain that it's holy, and we leave the rest up to Hashem. But so it was so interesting that these boys, they came for dinner, and one of the twins had to leave early. And on the counter, I really would have preferred that they would put the mezuzahs and everything in their car before Shabbos, whatever it is. This was my only chance to give it to them. But I didn't say anything. It was just on the counter with the keys, with the car keys, whatever. And the mother said when I gave it to them, the mother said, "Oh, I'll put these beautiful letters in your file." Meaning they probably have like a special box at home where they keep special things. I'll put in your file. And the boys, they said to him, "No, no, no, we're taking it with us." And then Matthew, he's leaving a little bit early, and he says goodbye to everyone. And he says to Eric, "Eric, I'm taking your mezuzah." So he didn't leave it for his mother to take home. He's like, I'm taking them both, So it was meaningful enough for him. When you speak from your heart and it penetrates the heart. We're talking about, penetrating the heart. Hopefully you impart the specialness of the specialness of what you're giving them. And during the Shabbos meal also, I spoke about it. My husband spoke about it, whatever. So you hope that they treat it respectfully, and I really think that they will. And the father, he seems to know so much about Yiddishkeit, and he says, "Yeah, we have a mezuzah on our door, but it wasn't checked in over 20 some years. One mezuzah on the door." So my husband said, "Oh, every year we could add another mezuzah to another room of your house, like not to, but slowly, slowly but surely." But it was so special to see to see that whether it be mezuzah or anything that we give to someone or that we learn ourselves, that it should permeate and penetrate, and not just that I learn it, but that it inspires me to do something. And this. So on Monday I taught the class, and I said, I really am inspired to give these kids a mezuzah, because Carly and Haley, who I haven't seen in 8 years, they're like the perfect American family. They did cheer. It's like cheer is like it's not just, hoo-ha, but it's gymnastics. They were part of a team. Every few weeks they missed Hebrew school because they were traveling the world to compete. Like they're really, such a great all American, all around American family. And I was thinking, what could I give them? What could I give them? I couldn't think of anything until I learned the teaching about mezuzah, but it should penetrate and permeate, and that you actually do something, not just that you learn it, but it propels you to do something. So on Monday I came home and we ordered the mezuzahs. They were supposed to come on Tuesday, which would have been great. I could see them, I could give it to them on Tuesday, but they didn't come till Wednesday, and early Wednesday morning they had already left to South Carolina. So the mezuzahs arrived on Wednesday. On Thursday, I picked up the kid. My husband was out of town for 3 days. I was doing all the driving. So I was waiting in the parking lot of Gourmet Glatt for my kids to come back from camp. I went into the dollar store. I bought really pretty wrapping paper, whatever. That was Thursday. We got the wrapping paper. Friday, I needed my husband to come home so he could print out the poem on this beautiful background paper, that it should fit. It shouldn't bump into had like a lighthouse on the side, shouldn't bump into it, whatever. So Friday, the poem got printed out. And having Shabbos at 7 o'clock, and everything has to be ready. And I was thinking, okay, I really want to go to the post office, but I know if I go to the post office, it's going to take an extra, a half hour at least from the cooking time. And I was on fire. I'm like, I'm not pushing this off till Monday. I have to go. I have to go. Was all prepared, the tea lights in a bag with a ribbon, curled ribbon and everything. And I was on fire. I was like, it's this week's parsha that's speaking about mezuzah. I got to do it. I just got to do it. And Risa, who's on Zoom, Risa was also coming for dinner. I said, Risa's going to come, and I have to tell her that I did it. So she's also, my inspiration. But anyway, and Kara, you're on too. Kara, we have mezuzah for you also. When we order for the kids, we ordered one for you. Okay.
Yay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'll just say another example or two about that something should penetrate and permeate. So my husband, he was the camp rabbi for 2 years for a C-Team extreme trip, which means they start in Colorado, and they go they go on trips every single day, and they end up in California, and they do all kinds of extreme sports, and they go to visit Chabad houses, etc. So they came to the Chabad house in Hollywood, in California. And that Chabad house, if you go online, you're not going to even find the address, because the celebrities go there and they don't want people running after them when they're, need a little bit of spirituality in their lives. And anyway, they come, these teenage boys, a whole bus comes to the Chabad in Hollywood, and the rabbi is speaking to them. And the rabbi says to them, he says, I'm going to tell you what no one else is going to tell you. I'm going to tell you about the importance of marrying a Jewish girl. And then he said, after he finishes talking, I want every single one of you to go to the Aron Kodesh, to go to the Ark, and to daven, to pray that Hashem should give you the strength to marry a Jewish girl. And the boys, one by one, with their backwards caps and however their jeans and whatever they were wearing, one by one, went to the Aron Kodesh like this, and they had their moment of silence. Then they get back on the bus, and one boy says to my husband, I just texted my girlfriend, I just broke up with my girlfriend. So that words, that the words shouldn't just be words, or that it should, the lesson, if the ground could retain and be permeated with the holiness to the extent that it's so holy that the ground itself actually has to be on a higher level, then this is a chidush, this is a novelty that happened once the Beis Hamikdash was built. That now the kedusha is able to penetrate and permeate in a real way, that the earth itself is not regular earth. That even if the Beis Hamikdash is gone, it's still it's forever holy. And it's just I'll say one more thing, since Batsheva is here, and I'm sorry, Suri's here, and her sister Batsheva got married last night. So we were in Suri's house for a Tanya class, and Batsheva will come every week, and every week she'll give me an update, the dating, the this and that. And then one week she said to me, she's like, Hani, everything's good, but I don't know. I need a little, I need a sign from Hashem, whatever it was. And I don't know what propelled me. I said, Batsheva, I said, would you consider maybe you want to write a letter to the OL or go to the OL? And she really got excited. And she said, do you think I should ask him? And I was like, I didn't even say anything. I was like, I was like, sure. I mean, I didn't even know what to say. It's not like they're Lubavitch or connected to Chabad in any way. The next day, she and her chassin were by the Ayel. They were dating. Yeah. Yes, I remember that. Yeah. Exactly. So the first time, after she came to one Tanya class, she already told him that she comes to a Tanya class, and he asked, already he was asking questions about Mashiach, but that she should ask me. But and then somehow I said, the Tanya class will answer your question, and somehow it did. But I gave a suggestion that Hashem put into my mouth. And she really took it to heart. And then my son-in-law was learning at the OL at the time, and he actually showed them around, and it was the first time for both of them going to the OL. So I'm saying, and also at this class, I'm so inspired, because sometimes we learn something, and people say to me, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And because of what we learned, I did this or I did that, and I changed this and I changed that. It's so inspiring that people the people that come to this class, and specifically that they really take to heart what we learn. And it's not just, I came to a class and check it off the list. But I'm inspired. I'm inspired by how the women here really take to heart what we learn. It's just, never had to say that. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so now we have another question. If this is all true, that the ground is so permeated and it's saturated. That's the word. Saturated with that's thanks to Rifki Slonim. She wrote a summary. The word saturated, I actually think, is a great word. That the ground is saturated with godliness. If that's the case, then why is it that the ulam, the entrance, the kodesh, and the kodesh HaKodashim, the holy and the holy of holies, are all on the same level? The kodesh HaKodashim, the holy of holies, that should be more steps. Why is it on the same level as the kodesh? Okay.
What's in the kodesh? The menorah, the Leichem of Purim. That what our efforts from below are as holy as what Hashem brings down from above.
Interesting that you're saying that. Very interesting that you're saying that. So let's talk about that for a minute. So we're going to leave the question. We're going to get back to it. The question that we're asking is, why is the Kodesh Kodashim on the same level as the Kodesh? To answer this question now, we have to talk Chassidus. Although I already threw in the Chassidus, I wasn't really going in the order. But until the Chassidus, we were just saying that the higher the place was, the more holy it was. Now we're going to go into more detail from a Hasidic perspective. The Mishkan, the structure of the Mishkan, what was the aim, what was the purpose versus the aim of the Beis Hamikdash? The Mishkan, and we could see this from how it was made. The Mishkan, what did it have? The top was made of Yeriyos. Yeriyos are curtains. What were the curtains made out of?
Wool.
Okay, wool. Wool comes from chai. So there are 4 different categories or 5 different categories in creation. We have daimem, inanimate objects, tzemeach, things that grow. Chai is animals, medaber is people, and then above that is Jews. So the curtains is made of chai, primarily chai, and there's a difference of opinion is whether there are 3 curtains or 4 curtains. The the top curtains were all chai, were all made out of goat. The highest, the top level was made of skin of tchashim. A tachash is an animal that is very colorful that doesn't exist today. Then, okay, I don't even know where I wrote everything. Then beneath it, there was a curtain made out of ram's skin. Beneath that, there was goat skin, curtain made of goat skin, and beneath that, it was called the Oihel. It was made out of purple yarn, blue yarn, and it was also made out of linen. So linen is already tzemeach, it's already plant. So the lowest curtain was a combination of chai and tzemeach. It was a combination of animal and plant. Now beneath all the curtains, what do you have? You have the krushim. The krushim are made out of wood, which is tzemeach. Thank you. Tzemeach, which is the plant. And then beneath that, what do you have? You have the silver sockets, which are daimim. Silver is a mineral, which you see a beautiful tree. It has life to it. It's moving in the wind. It grows. But then in the daimim, in the silver, in the rocks and things that are inanimate, you don't see any life at all. It's the godliness is so hidden. So then you have the silver sockets, which is on the earth, which is afar, which is obviously daimim, which is inanimate. So you have animal, plant, inanimate, and what's it showing? The aim of the Mishkan is to show the concept of Seder HaHishtalshalos, which means the process of how an infinite God could come down to how infinite God could come down to this world. There's a process like this evolution of higher level to lower level to lower level, this chain-like descent until you have a physical world. So you're going from things that are higher to things that are lower. And the Mishkan represents this concept of Seder HaShtalshalos, this chain-like descent from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low. That, versus the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, so the Mishkan is the mirror chain-like progression of existence. That's the Seder Shtalshalos. The Beis Hamikdash, on the other hand, was made out of stone. What stone? As we said, it can't even be built out of anything else. Stone is the most inanimate object. It's daimem. You don't see any life in it. And the aim, the goal, the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash was Nis'ava Kadosh Baruch Hu liyasedir b'tachteinim. That Hashem has a desire to have a dwelling place on this physical earth. That the stones, which are lifeless, that in the stone, the spirituality, where spirituality is not visible, even in the daimem, to show Einoid Milvade, there's nothing other than God. That's the goal and the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash.
All the way down to the stone, it should be holy.
Yeah, if you're taking rocks and you're using rocks, the most inanimate object, for what? To become hamakayim, to become the place where God's infinite light is gonna rest. This is where you see the uftu, the accomplishment of a Beis Hamikdash, where godliness saturates every single thing, even the most inanimate object, to the point that even the ground itself is so saturated with godliness that it has to be actually on a higher level because the structure on top of it is so holy. Yes. So in the Mishkan, the holiness of the structure and the holiness of the vessels remained a separate entity from the earth beneath it. While by the Beis Hamikdash, the holiness permeated and elevated the material existence, including the earth. Now going back to our question, why is the Kodesh HaKodashim on the same level as the Kodesh? And to answer the question, I'm going to ask you, the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, where no one is allowed to enter besides for the Kohen Gadol one time a year, how many steps do you think we would need to have if we wanted to make a separation between the Holy and the Holy of Holies? Infinite. And therefore, there are no steps. Because the Kodesh HaKodashim is so holy, it represents such infinity that you can't measure it with steps. And therefore, the Kodesh HaKodashim represents something else. It represents utter bittul. Bittul is when there's no you. There's no identity anymore. And it's so infinitely higher that it can't be measured. It's impossible to measure steps, and therefore there are no steps.
There was no steps from the ulam.
Because the ulam is the entrance to the Kodesh. The ulam is it's like the hallway to enter. And so there was steps. But the Kodesh HaKodashim, what's the Kodesh HaKodashim? Whether it be in the Mishkan or the Beis Hamikdash, that's where you have the Arein. The Arein did not take up any space. It was a physical thing. There was the measurement of the Kodesh HaKodashim. The measurement of the Kodesh HaKodashim was 20 amos. So if you measure from one side, if you maybe the 20 amos is in the Beis Hamikdash and it was different in the Mishkan, because in the Mishkan I think it's 5, 2.5, and 5, and the Beis Hamikdash I think it's 20. Whatever it is, in the amount of space from one wall of the Arein to the wall of the room of the Kodesh HaKodashim, and then you measure from the other side of the Arein to the wall. So I'll just say the 20 amos, that was in the Beis Hamikdash, I believe. So it was 10 on one side and 10 on the other side. And if you take the Arein out, it was still 20. So the Arein, which is 2.5 amos, didn't take up any space. So it's the impossible of the impossible, that something should take up space and not take up space at the same time. So you're dealing with something, you're dealing with why is this? Why is this? Because for Hashem to be infinite is a limitation. Because if you're just infinite, then you're not finite. So therefore, you have to have a Beis Hamikdash, which is a finite building, a specific place, not any place. It has to be a specific place with very, very specific qualifications with what it's made out of and detailed measurements. And if it's not built, then it's not valid. Everything detailed. And in such a specific, detailed place, that's where you have the infinity of God. Because I could only, the true infinity is when it's not limited to something finite. That's why you have to have infinity, infinite. You have to have a Kodesh Kodashim where you have where the physical thing doesn't take up any space. You have to have the merging of finite and infinite together. And that's what the Beis Hamikdash represents. In order to be truly infinite, you also have to be in the finite. Okay, so the answer is that the holiness of the Kodesh Kodashim can't compare to the holiness of the Kodesh or of anything else. And it can't be described by higher or lower. If I can't describe, if I can't even measure it, the width, then how am I going to measure the height? And so the Kodesh Kodashim represents God's essence. And it's so beyond description, beyond steps, that therefore there are no steps because it's just, it represents bittul, it represents it's coming to a place of shedding of the self, of shedding your identity. It represents the essence of God and ultimately the essence of every Jew. And it's very interesting when the Rambam gives the whole description of how the Beis Hamikdash is built, with the incline and and the steps and all the parts. It doesn't just say this is how it's built. These are the parts, and these are the amount of steps. Rather, it all describes it as a person. A person. What does it say? One who entered the Beis Hamikdash via the eastern gate of the mount of the Beis Hamikdash would proceed to the end of the Chel. He would ascend from the Chel to the women's courtyard by way of 12 steps. He would proceed through the entire women's courtyard on one level. So it's all about a person. It's describing a person going from one level to the other. And the lesson is, it's not just that the Beis Hamikdash has levels, one higher than the other, but rather you, the person who's coming to the Beis Hamikdash, as you go from one level to the other, you also have to change yourself and become holier, become more spiritual, elevate yourself, not just at the place that chamber or that section is higher, but you yourself have to also be higher, and you yourself have to ascend. That's exactly the point. Make me a sanctuary and I will dwell in you. It should have said, make me a sanctuary and I will dwell in it. The whole point is that we should make ourselves into a home for Hashem. And we all do our part of making ourselves into a home for Hashem. Then we have the ultimate, which is the coming of Mashiach. So in ourselves, we have all these parts. We have a chutz, we have a zara, and a ulam, and a kodesh, and a kodesh kodashim. We have it all. The Pintel Yid. Absolutely. What is it? Yeah, so basically the Holy of Holies. What's our Holy of Holies? That's our Pintalayid. That's the part of us that's above levels. It's above, okay, how many steps now to reach the next level? Is a place, it's just simple oneness. And there's no steps. It's just bittul, it's just unity and being completely give yourself over to Hashem. It's just a complete connection, a complete oneness. That's the Kodesh Kodashim that we have, that each and every one of us has inside of ourselves. That's the Yechida Shebenefesh. Yes. The Yechida Shebenefesh is the Pintel Yid. We have Hashem's name, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. And then the Yud of Hashem's name, it has the Kaitz Shel Yud, the tip of the Yud. That's the Yechida Shebenefesh. So, and there are 5 levels of soul, and so there's 4 letters of God's name plus the tip. That dot, the tat on top of the Yud, that's the Pintel Yid, that's the highest level of the soul. That's a Kodesh HaKodashim inside of us. And what does this mean? What does this mean? The Yechida. What does it mean, the Yechida Shebenefesh? You could have a person who by no fault of his own, didn't grow up in a religious home, whatever it is. So every single Jew does tons of mitzvahs. Every single Jew has so many mitzvahs, just like a pomegranate has so many seeds. But no matter what, every Jew, even if they're not living a religious lifestyle for whatever reason, so maybe they don't have that much money in the bank, for example, if you're giving a mashal of money, but every single Jew has a key to an infinite amount of money. It's just a matter of turning the key. Every single Jew has a Kodesh Kodashim inside of him, has a Pintel Yid inside of him, so that if his Hebrew school teacher gives him a mezuzah, that he could connect to it, that it is special to him, that he's not going to throw it out, because every single Jew has that fire, has that Pintel Yid. And I just want to end, because everything's Hashgacha Pratis. At what time was it last night? Close to 12. I should have been in bed. And I get this message. Okay. Okay, introduction. I get this message from her name is Toby Lewis. When I was 14 and I'm in the 9th grade, as I told you last time, I'm a mashpia. So in addition to my mashpia, there were 2 girls that I learned Likkutei Sichos with every Shabbos afternoon. We would go to Kingsbrook, we would go to the old age home, we would sing to the patients, 10 floors. And then we'd walk back to 770, and I would learn with Toby and Sippy. They were 12th graders, I was a 9th grader. And I've said this story before. That you know, we would just read the 9th graders would just read the Yiddish, and the 12th graders would translate for us. And one week it was just me learning with Sippy and Toby, and Shabbos was over already. And how Sippy she encouraged me. Oh, so that on that Shabbos, they encouraged me to try to translate the Sicha, which I wasn't very embarrassed to do, but basically I saw that I knew more than I thought I did. And Sippy and Toby, they were both so patient with me to hear me out. And then Shabbos was even over, and I said to Sippy, I said, how do you have patience to listen to me break my teeth? And she said, Chani, so when you're my age, you should do the same thing for others. So that was that. That was the Tzipi and Toby that I would learn the Likkutei Sichos every week. So she had a great impact on my life. And she's sending me this message. So, okay, that's one piece of information. I had a very dear friend that I grew up with. I remember her in my life ever since I remember my own life. We were neighbors. We were a few doors down from each other. Her name was Rachi Tauber. Married name was Rachi Paley. And Toby, this girl who learned with me, Likkutei Sichos, she was actually Rachi's mashpia. She was her mentor. And I know how much Rachi respected her and looked up to her and how she took her under her wing. It was just so beautiful. And when Rachi was 26, she had a brain aneurysm. She was in a coma for 9 weeks. She had a son who was barely 1. His birthday was on Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, he turned 1. And Yud Gimel Av, 4 days later, she passed away. She was 26. And I shared that this past Hanukkah, by Hashgacha Pratis, he came to help for a menorah parade. And I didn't speak to him directly, but I wrote a card, I put in some Hanukkah gelt, and my husband gave it to him. So now I'm getting this message. This is at 11:59 last night. Baruch Hashem, hi Chani, it's Toby Lewis. I hope you and your family are doing well. The son of our dear friend Rachi Alav Shalom is close with my brother in Morristown, and he mentioned to my brother that he wishes he knew more about his mother. He's Leah's age. He's 18 now. His mother passed away 17 years ago. Knowing that I was close to Rachi, my brother told him he will speak to me. After some back and forth, he said he preferred that I write something for him. I was hoping to have something written by the yard site, but it wasn't ready yet at that point. The reason I'm messaging you is to see if you would like to write something and I can give him that as well, or I can send you what I wrote and you can add to it. Would you be interested in either option? For me, it's a special schos to tell him firsthand all about his mother, which is something I hoped I would have the opportunity to do. Let me know your thoughts. Okay, so I wrote to her. Okay. Okay, I'll just read this part. And she's telling me so I wrote to her now, she's writing back to me and she writes, what I'm doing is writing a letter to Yosef Yitzchak about his mother instead of just sharing in general. I thought it would make it more personal and help him feel the connection in a stronger way. The whole thing is really Hashgacha Pratis. When Yosef Yitzchak shared with my brother how he wishes he knew more about his mother, I don't think he had any idea that my brother was related to someone who was so closely connected to his mother. Thanks again. Let's keep in touch, Mirz Hashem. So basically, this boy, Yosef Yitzchak Paley, is in Morristown Yeshiva. He has a friend who's the brother, who he has a friend, and he's just sharing with him that he wishes he knew more about his mother. Little did he know that his friend's sister was Rachi's mashpia. And then as I'm leaving to the class, I usually write my whole letter every week. I write a whole letter asking the Rebbe for a bracha to be able to understand the class and teach it. And I didn't even have time to write my letter as I came so late. I just when I go home, I'll write a proper letter, but I just asked for bracha just specifically for this class. I click submit and I'm running upstairs to get ready. And all of a sudden it hit me. This is what it means. The difference, this is what it means, Kodesh Kodashim. I could do a million things for Rachi's neshama. We had a scrapbooking club, and we had this project and that project, the Aleph Beis family, so many, this blog and that thing dedicated to Rachi's neshama. There's so many things that I could do. There's so many things that everyone could do. There's so many mitzvahs that we could do, and that's what we're supposed to do, and there's so many things that he could do for his mother. But then there's something that there's no steps. It's a completely different level. This boy wishes that he knew more about his mother. His father remarried, so once it's already more, it's more difficult. But and they have they have a lot of children, whatever it is. But I'm saying this boy, it's not about doing. It's not about steps. One thing is about steps, where you're progressing in your Avodas Hashem, where you're becoming a better person, where you're growing and you're learning and everything that you learn, it becomes part of you and it permeates and saturates and you're becoming higher and higher in your level of service of Hashem. Then just stop. Then comes a place of Kodesh HaKodashim where there's no steps. It's way above steps. It's way above anything you could possibly do. It's a yearning. I hope I don't cry. It's a yearning. It's a desire to just connect. Just like this boy, he just wants to know his mother. He just wants to know his mother. He was a baby. He was one. All he wants is to be one with his mother. All he wants is that connection. And that's what it means, Kodesh Kodashim. It's not anymore more steps. It's not about me, and it's not about steps, and it's not about me becoming closer to Hashem. It's not about me doing things and ascending higher and higher. It's not about me anymore, and it's not about doing anymore. It's just about the Pintel Yid, the oneness, the connection, that's it. A child wants to know his mother. It's above doing. It's a whole different level. Anyway, we should merit the coming of Mashiach. We should all be reunited with our loved ones. Yosef Yitzchak should be reunited with his dear mother, who was beyond amazing. And I promised Toby that Hashem, after this class, I'll sit down and write my thoughts. But that's what we want. That's what we want. We want to be one with Hashem. Enough of the galus. Yes, when we're in galus, like the story that I've said many times about the king who was wearing his hunting clothes and he got lost in the forest, and this guy Moshe, he gives him straw and goat's milk, and because of that, the king rewards him with a tremendous reward. So when we're in galus, when we give Hashem goat's milk and straw, it's so precious to Hashem. And we should utilize every minute of galus because once Mashiach comes, it's going to take a lot more work to impress Hashem. But it's enough. It's enough. We've been in galus enough. We did everything that we could. We did everything that we could. And now we don't forget about the reward. It's not okay. If I stay another day in galus, I'll be able to do more and get greater reward. We're done. We're done. We want to see us. We want to be one with Hashem. We want to see the Rebbe, and we want to be reunited with our loved ones. That's true oneness and true connection, and true bittul. It's just pure essence. It's just pure essence. A mother and a child are one. And the yearning of a child who wants to know his mother, that's the Kodesh Kodashim, the bittul of that just the oneness, just the unity. Without, it's already above steps. Okay, I think I said enough. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on this journey, and also we should take merit to be in the basement, to be serving Hashem in the basement today. Okay, and thank you to Kara and to Risa and to Sarla and to Dorit for joining us. Have a wonderful day.